Baptist for joining us for our Wednesday evening midweek service and Bible study. Stay tuned for a video overview of the sermon and some important announcements immediately following the service.
I've been doing this series on what to see at church, and I had a sermon altogether cute, nice, my mother would say with a pretty perm at the end of it. But God changed that. And I want to just share from my heart. I want to just share a couple of things from my heart. And I'm going to holler a couple of times. I know y'all Methodists, but we make a lot of noise in this church. Have you ever noticed how closely related the term hospital and hospitality are? In ancient years, travel was perilous. Jesus talks about a traveler falling on hard times when we learn about the Good Samaritan. And in order for people to have safe lodging, religious groups or churches began to develop homes where people could stay. Those places came from the Latin hospice. And it was a safe place to play, and particularly during the Crusades, it was amplified. Following the Crusades, there became a split. So that churches took over places for people who were infirmed, people who were hurting, people who were weary, and the hospitality element of it went to secular places. So that most of the hospitals we see have a connection to some religious organization. Baptists, Methodists, we see them. It is interesting to me that as time has evolved, there has been a split between what is considered a hospice and a hospital. Because a hospice is the place where the living go to die. And the hospital is the place where the dying go, hopefully, to live. And every church has to decide whether she's going to be a hospice or a hospital. Insert shout right through here. Whether we are going to be the place where the living come and hang out till they die, or whether we're going to be the place where the dying come that they might find life. And I'm convinced the longer I stay in church, the longer I'm around, that it is not about how spiritual or holy we can be. If we are to impact people, it's just about how kind and really how much of our humanity we show, because people don't want to know you're holy if they don't know you're human. And so the church is left with a challenge. It is interesting to me. Look with me in the book of Acts, the 28th chapter. Acts is the book of the Bible that talks about the church's beginning. And just before the church springboards into taking over the whole world, we learn a lesson in hospitality. Acts, the 28th chapter. Verses 1 through 6. Now, when they had escaped, they then found out that the island was called Malta. King James will say Melita. And the natives showed us unusual kindness, for they kindled a fire and made us all welcome because of the rain that was falling and because of the cold. But when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, a viper came out of the heat and fastened on his hand. So when the natives saw the creature hanging on his hand, they said one to the other, "No doubt this man is a murderer, whom though he has escaped the sea, yet justice does not allow to live. But he shook off the creature into the fire and suffered no harm. However, they were expecting that he would swell up or suddenly fall down dead. But after they had looked for a long while and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds, and they said he was a god. The grass withers, the flowers thereof fadeth away, but the word of our God shall stand forever. I want to talk about a hospice or a hospital. I like this in Acts, where the final chapter before the church changes the whole world, we pick up on Paul getting a lesson on how to love from people who aren't even in church. When you read this book of Acts, you know in the 27th chapter that Paul has appealed because he is a Roman citizen. He has appealed to Rome. He tells them not to go. They leave anyway. They encounter a storm. They have this storm, and Paul says to them, now, I've received special instructions that if we are to survive, we are to stay with the ship. They stay with the ship, 276 of them. They all escape, and the Bible says here in chapter 28 that we pick up on them coming to an island in the King James called Melita, but here it is called Malta. It is very interesting to me that this island called Malta in the Greek literally means the honey island. The island of honey, as sweet as honey. Now, I don't need everybody, but I just wish I had some believers who God brought through storms and let you land in a honey place. Here, this island of honey. What do we learn? We learn some lessons in hospitality, because when they escape to this place called Malta, Paul uses a term called barbarians. He say these barbarous people. It doesn't mean that they were ignorant or unlearned. It simply means they did not speak Greek. And Paul and his crew find themselves in the rain and the cold. And what do they teach us? I am so glad you asked. Now, this is really a kind of outline for a sermon. Probably about 2/3 of the way in, it's going to become a sermon. You'll know when I start hollering, Clyde. You know it's a sermon then. What do they teach us? Look in your Bibles. First thing that they teach us is they teach us the proper reception for people who've been saved from the storm. It's in the text. Paul says they helped us, first of all, to understand where we are. You and I need to understand. Paul says that they built us a fire. They didn't know who we were. They didn't know where we came from. As a matter of fact, now, if it had been me, and come on, be honest, you're sitting in your yard and you see 300 people coming on pieces of board and swimming, it's highly unlikely that you would say, well, let's start a fire for them because they are probably cold. Come on, talk to me. I need about 5 people to help me testify. You say, baby, look in the closet and get the big gun, because I don't know what's going on right now. They didn't have to know their names to know that they had a need. And what's interesting is Paul is the believer, and the barbarians showed the believer how you ought to treat people. They helped him to understand that you're at the place as sweet as honey. And wouldn't it be good if we understood that people who are coming here are coming in from the cold and the rain. And most of the time, they don't need us to ask them how they got wet or why they're freezing. They need us to build them a fire so that they can get warm. And when they are warm and dry, we can tell them, now don't go back in that rain anymore. You got to help people to understand where they are. And the church ought to be the place. Y'all, nobody is happy every Sunday. I'm not happy every Sunday. I'm not giddy every Sunday. But I don't know who's been caught in a storm. I don't know what it took to get somebody here. I don't know what child left home. I don't know who's had to deal with abuse during the week. I don't know who faced death this week. So when they come here from the cold and the rain, the least I can do is give them a smile. Now watch what Paul says. Watch the text. As Luke writes this text, it's interesting to me that Luke says they kindled us a fire. Now I can see y'all from the city. I can tell. Kindling ain't big wood. Kindling is just sticks. And maybe he's suggesting to us that if we want to get a fire started, it doesn't take major acts. And you don't have to be the pastor. You don't have to be on the hospitality committee. You ain't got to be. All you have to be is human. And when people come, if you just learn how to smile, it makes all the difference in the world. Okay. You help people to understand where they are. This island, Melita, the honey place. You meet their needs where they are. Because people are cold. They've been in the storm. They've escaped the sea. And people who are cold and wet don't want you giving them Bible tracts. Because they're going, what I'm going to do with this? It's hard to hear about Jesus when your stomach is growling. It's hard for us to understand about I got a home and you got in the house, and then you got to go live in your car. And so a part of us developing the right reception for people who've been saved from the storm is not only to help them to understand where they are, but it is to meet their needs while they are here. And then he says they kindled us a fire because of the rain and the cold. Here they are, 276 people. We don't even speak their language. They don't look like us. We know they're strange, but we start a fire. And Paul says it's such a wonderful term here in the Greek. He says they were extremely humane. They showed us no little kindness. He doesn't say that they slapped our head and gave us oil. He doesn't say they taught us even the Roman road. He just said they showed us what it was like to treat us like people. There's one thing that the church has to learn. It is how to treat people like people. Because if you've been beat up in the world, you don't want to come in here and have people tell you how bad you are. Help them to understand where they are. Help meet their needs while they're here, but then we need to help them to get to where they're going. Because it's our responsibility not to leave people like they come. You come as you are, but we don't want you to stay as you came. And we know that the way to lead people is through love. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one. Have you ever gone to somebody's house? Two things. One is, have you ever gone to a restaurant where the food was good, but the service was bad? And you just say, well, I'll just go somewhere else. I don't care how much I like the food. You're not going, I ain't going to pay you to mistreat me. And Brenda be trying to fight and cuss with people. I said, baby, Have you ever been invited to eat and you can tell before you get there if you're going to like the food? Because there is an aroma in the house. And you can tell by the smell, it's about to go down. Don't you know that you set an aroma in the house? That when people come to Westside Church, I know we are busy, but when they come at 9 o'clock and they come in and the choir is singing and you can hear in the voice, the greeters are smiling, it's aroma, and in their spirit they say it's about to go down. But there are other times when people come and no matter how good the food is, if we treat them bad, they ain't coming back. But it's not all on us. This text gives us the proper reception for people who are saved from the storm, but it also gives us the proper response of the people who are being saved. Now, if we are saved, and I like what Paul does, Paul understands that if I am blessed by the fire, I ought to be a blessing to the fire. It's in the text. Now, there's only so long you can sit on the sidelines and be taken care of. Paul says, yes, I'm wet and dry, but if these people, kindling starts a fire, but it's not going to make it be big, I need to find some logs. Paul finds some logs. Listen, y'all, if you become a part of our church, it is your responsibility to invest in this church because the same fire that warmed you can help somebody else. And Lord, deliver me from people who just want to soak up and never give back. That's why I'm so big on membership. If this church is important enough for you to come to every Sunday, and this is the place that meets your needs, you're able to be revived and restored, renewed to go face the world, then you ought not have an undercover relationship with us. We don't want to be your secret lover. We want our business out in the street to let the folk know you're a part of us and we're a part of you. And Paul says, I'm tired of just sitting here. I'm going to help. I can't do it all, but I can pick up some fire. But y'all, here's a response. If you're going to get involved in Christian service, there's something I need to tell you. The text says that when Paul picked up the log, there was a snake that had been there, and the snake was cold. Now, this is just a sidebar. There are seldom new snakes in church. Yeah. Most of the snakes in church have been there a while. They've just been hot in their spots, so they got cold. You don't want to talk to me. You don't want to talk to me. But when the fire gets turned up, they start running. Now, here is what Paul discovers. Paul discovers that your predators are going to be fierce and that people will be fickle. Here it is. Don't miss this. If you can't handle somebody talking about you in church, then you would do well not to do anything. But here's what gets me. I don't understand how people can handle conflict or somebody not liking what they do everywhere else and still go. They don't like what you do at the sorority, but you still show up. They don't like what you do in the social club, but you still show up. You fight with parents in the PTA, but you still show up. You went by little dribblers and got into it with the referee, but you showed up the next week. But as soon as somebody says something to you in church, now don't miss this. There are 276 people that got off that boat, but the only one the snake bit was Paul, because he was the only one doing something. If you feel like you're being attacked, my advice to you is keep on doing what you've been doing, because the devil doesn't bother folk who are sitting on the sideline. Now, the text says that the viper fastened himself on Paul's hand, literally gripped, that this predator, and that's the way that he does. He will fasten, and you could handle the devil if he'd hit it and quit it, but that ain't his style. No, he starts bothering you trying to shake him off, but Paul has the tenacity to say, as hard as you bite me, I'm going to shake a little harder. Now watch these people. The people said that he escaped Neptune, the sea. But God got him. Now tell me if some of them were our cousins. One thing about it, baby, God don't like ugly. Baby, they thought they was getting away, but God got them. I know I'm not the only one who been around folk who know why God gonna get somebody. And as soon they waited for Paul to die, and when Paul kept standing, they said, oh, he's a god now. Don't build your life around what people think about you, because Jesus will tell you, they'll say Hosanna when you come into the city, and then they'll get with the crucified crowd. And you got to make sure that what you're doing is what God has called you to do. And watch the text. I like this. He shows us that you've got to learn how to keep standing. It doesn't say when they saw Paul keep working, all he did was to stand. And I'm here to tell somebody who's ready to quit on the Lord because somebody has said something ugly about you. You just stand. I hear Paul saying, having done all to stand, stand. If you got to cry, stand. Heartbroken, stand. I'm just about through now. This text gives us the proper reception for the people who've been saved. It gives us the proper response of the people, but it concludes with the proper results of saving people. I like this. The people were so nice that Paul and the crew decided to hang around a while. Wouldn't it be good if the church developed the attitude that even people who are not like us are so loved that they just want to hang around a while? Wouldn't it be great? Somebody listening to me, the reason you're here today isn't because of the way I preach or the choir sing. It's because you had the nerve to come here and we had the audacity to love you like you hadn't been loved before. Wouldn't it be good if when you showed up, we just had a way of showering on people, and not that we don't call people into account, but when we love you, after a while, we're going to lead you. Wouldn't it be good? What happens when the church dares to say, yeah, there's the sermon part. I feel my help right through there. I'll tell you what will happen when we dare to save people. The text says, first of all, that there'll be healing in the house. Because there's a man named Publius, when you read it, Paul goes to his house and there's sickness in the house. And when the church has the audacity to love like Jesus loved, healing takes place in the house. I don't need everybody, but I'm wondering if I got anybody in here who'll testify that this is the house of healing. Is there anybody in here that can testify we mend broken hearts in here? Is there anybody who can testify that we put lives back together in here? Is there anybody here who can say there's healing in the house? But not only is there healing in the house, but the Bible says that the city got saved, that the church has healing in the house, but there's also salvation in the city. If we want Lewisville better, it starts at Westside. If we want North Dallas better, it starts in Westside. If we want Texas better, it starts in Westside. I'm on my way to my seat, but I think I ought to tell somebody. I was reading the other day in the book of Mark chapter 2. It said it was noised that Jesus was in the house. A better rendering of noised is the word rumor, that the rumor got out that Jesus was in the house. There are a lot of rumors that get out on the church. Who's taking church money? That's a rumor. Who the pastor going with? That's the rumor. Who the deacon got a baby by? That's the rumor. But wouldn't it be good if the rumor got out that Jesus was in the house? Anybody here know Jesus is in the house? Joy is in the house. Love is in the house. Deliverance is in the house. Yokes are broken in the house. Anybody here know Jesus is in the house? Ain't he in the house? Can you feel him in the house? Can you feel him moving in your life? I get joy when I think about him being in the house. I get peace when I know he's in the house. Ain't he all right? I said, ain't he all right? Don't fool me now. Is there anybody here that know my Jesus? I know he's all right. I know he's all right. Come to this place and live. This is not the place where the living come to die. This is the place where the dying comes to live. And we invite you to come receive hospitality at the hospital. Whatever your brokenness is, we believe Jesus can fix it. I don't know what storm you're escaping from. I don't know how cold and rainy it has been where you are, but here is a place with fire where you can receive warmth and love.
Hello, Westside family. Today, we're going to take a closer look at a really powerful message from our own pastor, Dr. Delvin Atchison. This is all about diving deeper in his call for us, for our church, to answer a question that really gets to the heart of who we are and what we're called to do. So, let's jump right in. Dr. Atchison kicks things off with this huge question. It's not about the building, it's not about our Sunday service, it's about our fundamental identity. Are we a hospice? A comfortable place where folks who are already spiritually healthy just kind of wait things out? Or are we a hospital, a place where the dying, the broken, can come and find new life? And when you put it like this, the difference is just, wow. It's night and day, isn't it? A hospice is all about comfort for an end that's already decided. But a hospital, that's a place of action, of healing, of real hope for a brand new start. Dr. Atchison says this one choice, hospice or hospital, changes everything about what we do. So how do we actually become that hospital? Well, it all starts right here with this idea. It's not about putting on a show of being perfect. Real healing, real connection, it comes from being genuinely human and kind. It's about showing people we're human before we ever try to show them we're holy. Okay, so what does this look like in the real world? For a blueprint, Dr. Atchison takes us somewhere pretty amazing. The book of Acts, chapter 28. And he finds this incredible lesson on hospitality, not from a church, but from a bunch of islanders who weren't even believers. I mean, just try to picture this scene. It's absolute chaos. Paul and 275 other people have been in this violent storm for 2 weeks. They lose the ship, they lose everything, and they finally wash up on this island. And the island's name? Malta. It literally means the island of honey. Talk about finding sweetness after all that bitterness. And right there, the local people meet them with what Paul himself calls unusual kindness. You see, this story from long ago isn't just a history lesson. Dr. Atchison is telling us it's a direct model for us, for our church today. It's all about our part in welcoming people who are coming in from their own storms, feeling shipwrecked, cold, and alone. And this is our first job. This is so important. Before we ask someone how they got shipwrecked, before we judge their decisions or try to figure out their storm, our first responsibility is just to offer warmth, to meet their immediate needs, no questions asked. So this story gives us a super clear 3-step playbook for what real hospitality looks like. First, you create a safe place. Second, you take care of the immediate need, the warmth before the words. And third, you help them move forward. Because as Pastor Atchison says, real love never leaves people right where it found them. And think about how that fire got started. With kindling. We're not talking about giant logs here, just small sticks. And that's such a powerful picture for us. Starting this fire of hospitality doesn't take some huge heroic act. It can be a simple smile, a kind word. That welcoming feeling, that's the kindling. And every single one of us can offer that. But hold on, because being a hospital isn't just about what the welcome team does. The story in Acts shows us something else, the responsibility of the people who have been welcomed, the ones who've been warmed by that fire. Hospitality, it turns out, is a two-way street. This is the challenge for every one of us. Once we've received that warmth, that healing, we can't just stay on the sidelines. The call is to get up and get involved. If you've been blessed by this fire, it's now your turn to go find some wood and help keep it burning for the next person who washes ashore. Okay, now watch what happens. As soon as Paul gets up to help, as soon as he stops being a guest and starts serving by gathering wood, a poisonous snake latches onto his hand. And this right here is a huge lesson about what happens the moment you decide to get in the game. This moment just reveals such a profound truth. You know, opposition is often a sign that you're actually doing something that matters. That snake didn't bother any of the other 275 people just sitting there. It attacked the one who got up to help. So if you feel a little pushback, maybe, just maybe, that's a sign you're making a difference. So Paul faces 2 big challenges here. First, there's the snake itself, the actual attack. But second, there's the crowd. One minute, they're saying he's a murderer, getting what he deserves. The next minute, when he doesn't die, they're calling him a god. The lesson? People's opinions change like the wind. Don't build your identity on that. Just stand firm in what you're called to do. So what happens when a church really gets this? When we fully lean into being a hospital, welcoming the shipwrecked, empowering them to serve, and shaking off the snakes? What's the end result? First, the church becomes a place of real, actual healing. The story goes on to say Paul healed the chief official's father right there in the house. When a church loves like this, it becomes a place where broken hearts are mended and lives are truly put back together. It starts right here, with us. And then, that healing that's happening inside our walls, it can't be contained. It spills out. The Bible says the news spread, and everyone else on the island who was sick came and was cured. That's the vision. When there's healing in the house, it leads to salvation in the city. The health of our church can bring real hope and change to our whole community. And that brings us right back to where we started. This is the declaration. This is the identity Dr. Atchison is calling Westside to own. It's our choice to be a hospital, a dynamic, life-giving place of hope and restoration. So we'll end with this invitation. It's a question for every single one of us, no matter what storm you're in or what shipwreck you've been through. The fire is burning. It's a place to get warm, a place to heal, and a place to find new life. The only question left is, will you come?
Westside, here are our announcements for the week. The WBC social media team is beginning a campaign requesting that you subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Please take a few seconds, subscribe, and follow today. The WBC Who Ministry is conducting a free health clinic on Saturday, November 8th from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for Westside and the Lewisville community. Included will be checks for blood pressure, blood glucose, hemoglobin A1C, eye exams, and much more. Pre-registration is encouraged by scanning the QR code, but walk-ups are accepted. For more information, please visit the Who page on WBCCHURCH.org. Mark your calendars for our annual hymn sing on Wednesday, November 19th. Bring your favorite brown bag lunch at noon and enjoy delicious desserts provided for everyone. For additional information regarding any of these announcements and much more, please visit us at WBCCHURCH.org. Weekly announcements are also available on the Westside YouTube